Used to be a popular spot in the hill country, or at least it was. We're talking about Jacob's Well near Wimberley. The area is famous for its deep cave full of beautiful blue water. The only problem is the lack of water.
Jacob's Well looks like paradise, a serene oasis with crystal clear water until you dive beneath the surface. For years, it has claimed lives, swallowed evidence, and left divers lost in its deadly depths. Beneath the beauty, something far more sinister lurks, pulling those who dare enter into a labyrinth of darkness. One diver even tried to drown himself just to escape its merciless grip. What lies beneath this peaceful pool is a chilling secret that no one could have imagined, and the horrors are only just beginning to surface.
Jacob's Well, a popular swimming hole near Wimberley, will remain closed to swimmers for the foreseeable future.
And Hays County officials say water conditions are not safe for swimming.
Jacob's Well, a seemingly peaceful swimming hole in the Texas Hill Country, has captivated the public for years. Its crystal clear waters and serene surroundings paint the picture of a perfect oasis. Yet beneath the surface lies a dark and deadly history. This once idyllic swimming hole, nestled near the quiet town of Wimberley, has become infamous for its hidden dangers. Over the years, countless divers have ventured into its depths, only to face unexpected challenges that often lead to dangerous situations and tragic outcomes. Despite its alluring appearance, Jacob's Well has claimed more than a dozen lives, leaving behind a trail of unexplained disappearances, lost equipment, and eerie stories of divers who never resurfaced.
If you guys had come even a few days ago, you wouldn't have seen any water flowing.
How long has it been since folks have been able to swim in this?
It's been since about June of 2022.
Wow.
We opened like normal that summer, thinking we were getting ourselves into a normal swim season, but by the end of June, we noticed something was kind of wrong.
The well's depths are not easily understood, and for good reason. Jacob's Well is no ordinary swimming hole. Beneath the surface lies a submerged labyrinth that stretches deep into the earth. At first glance, the well seems like any other. Its surface, calm and clear, offers a deceptive sense of safety. But beneath that calm, it quickly descends into a world that has claimed the lives of many who dared to explore it. The well itself is a vertical shaft that plunges nearly 30 feet before twisting into a network of submerged tunnels and chambers that win their way deep underground. The first chamber, at the well's base, leads to further tunnels and chambers, some of which extend thousands of feet into the earth. For years, divers attempted to map out the labyrinthine chambers below, only to encounter resistance at every turn. The well's unique structure and unpredictable nature have thwarted every attempt to understand it fully. Divers have spoken of strange, shifting gravel that blocks their path, making it nearly impossible to navigate. In some parts of the cave system, visibility drops to zero, creating an environment where divers can lose track of their location or even become disoriented. These challenges make diving in Jacob's Well one of the most dangerous activities one can undertake. In addition to the physical challenges, there have been numerous reports of eerie phenomena that seem to defy explanation. Divers have spoken of the sensation that the water itself is alive, almost as if the well is breathing. Others have described the eerie feeling that they are being watched or even pulled by an unseen force. These stories have led many to wonder if there is something more sinister at play beneath the surface of Jacob's Well. For those who have experienced it firsthand, the well's power seems undeniable. As the years went on and the well's danger became more apparent, authorities began to crack down on activities at Jacob's Well. In 2020, officials in Hays County made the difficult decision to shut down the well to swimmers and divers, citing unsafe water conditions and the risk of injury or death. This decision came after a series of troubling incidents, including reports of disorientations, lost gear, and unexplained phenomena. The well's closure marked a turning point in its history, and it became clear that something much deeper and more mysterious lay beneath its surface. However, even with the well's closure, the fascination surrounding Jacob's Well has not waned. Divers, researchers, and even thrill seekers continue to be drawn to its depths. The allure of uncovering its secrets, of understanding what lies beneath, remains strong. In recent years, advances in technology have made it possible to explore the well in ways that were once thought impossible. Underwater drones, equipped with high-resolution cameras and sonar technology, have allowed experts to venture deeper into the well than ever before, capturing footage of the submerged chambers and uncovering new details about the cave system. These drones, which do not require oxygen or air to operate, are able to explore areas of the well that were once off-limits to humans. The drones send back real-time footage, offering an unprecedented look at the well's hidden chambers. Initially, the footage from these drones was stunning. The well's walls, covered in smooth limestone, shimmered under the light, creating a surreal and almost otherworldly scene. The clarity of the water made it seem as though the drone was floating through glass, capturing footage of the well's beauty in a way that had never been seen before. However, as the drones descended deeper into the well, the tone of the footage began to change. The once clear waters darkened, and the atmosphere became tense. By the time the drone reached the second chamber, it began to pick up strange and unsettling signs. Bits of debris, abandoned gear, and personal items began to appear in the footage. These items, stuck in the silt, told a story of people who had ventured too far and never returned. Among the debris, there was a particular object that caught the drone's camera, a single glove floating in the water. At first it seemed like a minor detail, but as the drone zoomed in on the glove, something even more chilling was caught on camera. In a brief flash, just a split second, a shape drifted across the light beam. It appeared to be a hand, disconnected from any body, floating silently in the water. The appearance of the hand was brief, almost like a trick of the light, but it was enough to freeze everyone in the room watching the footage. The eerie image sent a wave of unease through the group of geologists and reporters who were following the drone's descent in real time. For many, it was a stark reminder of the dangers that had claimed the lives of previous divers. The image of the hand, though fleeting, seemed to serve as a warning the well was not done with its secrets, and it was not ready to give up what it had taken. This footage, along with the discovery of old dive gear, marked the beginning of a much darker investigation into the well's history. It wasn't just a scientific exploration anymore. The drone had uncovered something far more personal, something that connected the past to the present. As the drone continued its descent into the well, it revealed more evidence of the tragic stories hidden beneath the surface, hinting at a much deeper mystery that had yet to be fully uncovered. The well, once considered a mere curiosity, had transformed into a haunting reminder of the lives it had claimed. It had become more than just a swimming hole or a dive site. It had become a place of legend, a place where the line between fact and myth had blurred. The footage from the drone served as a powerful reminder that Jacob's Well was not just a natural wonder, it was a force to be reckoned with. In the years since the well was closed to the public, its story has only grown in significance. The footage of the drone's dive has sparked a new wave of interest, as people continue to wonder what lies beneath the surface. The well has become a symbol of both beauty and danger, a place where nature's power is on full display, and where the mystery of the depths remains unsolved. Jacob's Well may look like paradise on the surface, but beneath the water, it harbors a dark secret. For those who have dared to explore its depths, the well has shown no mercy. Its labyrinthine chambers, hidden dangers, and eerie presence have made it one of the most notorious dive sites in the world. And even now, as technology continues to uncover more of its secrets, the well remains as dangerous and mysterious as ever. As the search for answers continues, one thing remains clear. Jacob's Well is a place that has yet to give up all of its secrets, and it is a place that will continue to haunt those who venture too close to its depths. Jacob's Well, a once picturesque swimming hole located in the Texas Hill Country near Wimberley, hides a dangerous secret beneath its serene surface. The waters may appear inviting and beautiful, but the well's true nature is far more menacing. Beneath the clear, calm waters lies a submerged labyrinth that has claimed the lives of over a dozen people. For years, divers have attempted to navigate the complex maze of chambers, but most have met with tragic endings. Despite the beauty that greets the eye, the well is a place of darkness, danger, and death. The well, which is part of the Trinity Aquifer, is no ordinary natural feature. It appears to be just another swimming hole, a place where people can gather and cool off on a hot summer's day. Its crystal clear waters reflect the blue sky, making it seem like a peaceful oasis. But beneath that still surface lies a treacherous drop. The well is a vertical shaft that plunges nearly 30 feet into the earth before giving way to a twisting and winding network of underwater tunnels and chambers. These hidden passages stretch for miles underground, forming a complex maze that few have been able to fully explore. Some parts of the cave system are so narrow that divers must remove their tanks to squeeze through, while others are vast enough to drive a truck through, but navigating them is far from easy or safe. For decades, divers have attempted to map the chambers and understand the full extent of the well's underground network, but no one has been able to complete the task. The labyrinth is constantly shifting, with gravel and debris that move with the flow of water, making it nearly impossible to navigate. The well's treacherous nature is compounded by its extreme depth and the dangerous environment created by the shifting murky water. Visibility is often reduced to near zero, especially in the third chamber where divers have become disoriented and lost. It is here in the depths of the well that many of the tragedies have occurred. Divers who entered with the hope of exploring its depths or mapping its chambers have never returned. In addition to the dangers posed by the environment, there are eerie stories about the well's supernatural qualities. Divers and other explorers have reported strange occurrences while navigating its dark, claustrophobic passages. Some have spoken of shadowy movements in their peripheral vision, while others have described an unsettling feeling of being watched or even pulled by an unseen force. These stories have fueled the legend of Jacob's Well, leading some to believe that the well has a life of its own, a malevolent force that chooses who can survive and who will be trapped beneath its surface. Despite the well's reputation as one of the most dangerous dive sites in the world, it continues to attract divers, researchers, and thrill seekers. The allure of discovering what lies hidden in the depths is irresistible, even to those who are aware of the risks. Over the years, Jacob's Well has become a place of both fascination and fear. The stories of its dangers, combined with the mystery of its depths, have made it a focal point for those seeking to uncover the unknown. Divers from around the world come to test their skills and courage in the well, even though they know the risks. The challenge is not just about exploring a natural wonder, but about surviving the well's deadly grip. As the years went on, Jacob's Well continued to claim lives, and officials began to take notice. In the 1980s, the local government began to impose restrictions on diving in the well, but the allure of the well's mysterious depths remained strong. In 2020, after a series of incidents involving divers becoming disoriented or trapped, the Hays County authorities made the decision to officially close the well to swimming and diving. The decision was based not just on the water's safety, but on the mounting number of incidents where divers failed to resurface. The waters were deemed unsafe, and the well was closed to the public to prevent further tragedies. The closure of the well did little to stop the fascination surrounding it. Even though the well was no longer open to the public, the stories continued to circulate. Jacob's Well remained a subject of intrigue, a place where danger and mystery were ever present. Divers and thrill seekers still sought to explore it, knowing the risks, but always hopeful that they could uncover something new or hidden deep below. The local community, too, felt the pull of the well's enigmatic power. For years, the well had been a source of income and tourism for Wimberley, attracting visitors from around the world who were eager to witness its beauty and danger firsthand. Now, with the well closed, the town found itself struggling to preserve the legacy of Jacob's Well, while also ensuring that it would never claim another life. Despite the closure, there were still those who believed that the well held secrets that needed to be uncovered. Researchers, scientists, and divers all continued to explore the well's depths using modern technology. Advances in underwater exploration tools, such as submersible drones, have allowed scientists to get a closer look at the well's chambers without risking human lives. These drones are equipped with high-resolution cameras and sonar technology, allowing them to navigate the dark, treacherous waters and capture footage of the submerged chambers. The drones can descend into the depths of Jacob's Well without the need for oxygen or air, which has been a major breakthrough in the study of the well. For the first time, researchers could explore areas of the cave system that were previously inaccessible. The footage captured by the drones has revealed the well's beauty as well as its haunting nature. The images show smooth limestone walls, crystal clear water, and winding tunnels that seem to go on forever. At first, the drone footage was nothing short of mesmerizing. The light from the drones illuminated the submerged passageways, creating a surreal and almost otherworldly glow. The water shimmered like glass, and the well's beauty was undeniable. But as the drone descended deeper, the footage began to take on a darker tone. The waters grew darker, and the atmosphere became heavy. The calm beauty of the surface waters gave way to an eerie, oppressive silence. It was as if the well itself was aware of the intrusion and was not pleased with being disturbed. By the time the drone reached the second chamber, it was clear that the well had more to reveal than anyone had anticipated. The drone's cameras captured strange and unsettling objects, including debris and abandoned dive gear, all of which seemed to be stuck in the silt, remnants of people who had ventured too far into the well and never returned. Among the debris, a single glove was spotted, floating alone in the water. At first it seemed like a harmless detail, but when the drone zoomed in on the glove, something even more unsettling appeared. In the briefest of flashes, a shape drifted across the light beam, a form that appeared to be a hand. It was a momentary vision, just enough to send chills down the spine of anyone watching the footage. The hand was disconnected from any body, floating silently in the water, and its presence was enough to make everyone in the room freeze. Was it a trick of the light? Perhaps. But to those watching the footage, it seemed too real to ignore. The faces in the room were filled with unease and confusion, as if they had just witnessed something they couldn't explain. And for the divers who reviewed the footage later, it was clear that they weren't just watching a piece of equipment moving through a cave system. They were watching a message, a warning from the well itself. The well had claimed lives, and it was making it clear that it wasn't done yet. The footage from the drone, along with the discovery of the old diving gear, shifted the tone of the investigation. What had started as a curiosity-driven exploration of an infamous dive site had now become a search for answers to a long unsolved mystery. The well's dark history was now being brought to light, and what had been a collection of stories and rumors was slowly turning into something far more tangible and terrifying. The well's grip on the past was becoming clear, and the question now was not just about exploring the well's chambers, but about what they could uncover from its past. A past that seemed to be linked to lost lives, unspoken tragedies, and a haunting mystery that had yet to be solved. As the investigation into Jacob's Well deepened, the dangers that had once been whispered about became undeniable. The drone footage, which had previously shown the well's beauty, now revealed an unsettling side of the underground labyrinth that had been hidden for decades. What started as a scientific exploration into one of the most dangerous dive sites in the world had turned into an eerie unraveling of mysteries tied to the deaths of several divers. What the drone captured during its descent into the well's submerged chambers would change everything, revealing a connection to the past and something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface. When the drone was first deployed, it was equipped with the latest technology, including high-resolution cameras, sonar, and floodlights, capable of illuminating the deepest corners of the well's submerged system. These tools allowed experts to explore the well with precision, capturing footage of areas that had previously been unreachable by human divers. At first, the footage was spectacular. The well's smooth limestone walls and crystal-clear waters created an almost surreal scene, as the light bounced off the rocks and reflected off the shimmering surface. The water appeared calm, inviting, even almost like a tranquil swimming pool that belied the deadly history hidden beneath. But as the drone descended further, the atmosphere began to shift. The clarity of the water started to fade. As it grew darker, the camera lights piercing through the murkiness, but revealing little beyond the faint glow of the cavern walls. The temperature seemed to drop as the drone passed through the first chamber and continued toward the second. That's when things started to feel wrong. The water's peaceful appearance started to transform into something far more foreboding. It became colder, more oppressive, as though something was waiting in the shadows. The weight of the silence was almost tangible, as if the well itself was watching, silently observing the intruders as they descended into its depths. It was in the second chamber that the first signs of something truly unsettling appeared. Bits of debris, discarded gear, and personal items began to appear in the drone's camera feed. These were not just pieces of trash or forgotten equipment. They were items belonging to divers who had ventured into the well before and never returned. Among the scattered remnants, the drone captured a haunting sight, a single glove floating alone in the water. At first it seemed insignificant, just another piece of forgotten gear. But when the drone zoomed in on the glove, something even more chilling happened. In the briefest of moments, barely a flicker on the screen, the drone's light caught something moving in the shadows, something that looked like a hand floating by itself in the water, disconnected from any body, silently drifting through the darkened chamber. The appearance of the hand was so fleeting, so brief, that it could have been dismissed as a trick of the light. But to those watching the footage, it was impossible to ignore. The room fell silent, as the experts, geologists, and reporters present at the time took in what they had just witnessed. The hand floating without explanation seemed to reinforce the legends that had long circulated about the well. Some had spoken of the well being alive, of it having an almost malevolent presence, and this image of a disembodied hand added weight to those eerie stories. The hand seemed to carry a message, a warning from the well itself. It was as though it was telling everyone who dared to explore its depths that they were not welcome. It was a chilling sight, and the unease in the room was palpable. What followed the appearance of the hand was even more disturbing. As the drone continued its descent, the footage revealed more than just scattered debris and abandoned equipment. The drone's cameras captured an object half buried in the gravel at the bottom of the third chamber. At first glance, it appeared to be an old piece of dive gear. It wasn't anything extraordinary, just a rusty half-buried oxygen tank. But what made it significant was the label on the tank, which had barely survived the passage of time. The label was faded and nearly unreadable, but it was clear enough to reveal that the tank had been manufactured decades ago. This wasn't just any abandoned gear. It was gear that had been used by divers long gone, whose names and stories were tied to the well's dark past. As the drone hovered over the tank, it became clear that they were not just uncovering a piece of lost equipment. They were on the verge of discovering something far more important. The tank's age suggested that it belonged to a diver who had gone missing long ago, a person whose disappearance had been written off as just another tragic accident in the well's long history of fatalities. The equipment didn't just belong to any diver. It was tied to a mystery that had remained unsolved for decades. And as the drone continued its journey deeper into the chamber, the footage revealed something even more startling. A human form, wedged between two smooth rock walls. The body, still clothed in a faded wetsuit, was unmistakably human. The body's position, pinned between the rocks, suggested that it had been trapped in that position for a long time. The wetsuit was torn in places, the limbs frozen in unnatural angles, as though the body had been caught in the well's grip and never released. The sight of the body was enough to send a wave of shock through the room. No one spoke for a long moment. The eerie silence was broken only by the sound of the drone's hum, a stark contrast to the stillness of the underwater grave. The identity of the body wasn't immediately clear, but as the drone's camera zoomed in, a small detail caught the light. A name tag, barely visible beneath layers of grime and mud, was affixed to the wetsuit. The name on the tag was Kent Maupin. The recognition of the name hit like a punch to the gut. Kent Maupin had disappeared in 1979, along with his diving partner Mark Brazier. The two men had been part of a diving expedition that had ventured beyond the well's third chamber into the deadly fourth chamber. Neither man had ever resurfaced, and their disappearance had remained a mystery for decades. As the team continued to examine the footage, it became clear that the discovery of Kent Mopin's body was not just a tragic recovery, it was the unearthing of a long-forgotten cold case. Kent Mopin and Mark Brazier had become part of the Wells' dark legacy, their names added to the list of those who had ventured too far and never returned. But the discovery of Kent's body raised more questions than answers. What had happened to Mark? Was he still down there, trapped somewhere in the depths of the well, or had he been lost to the ever-shifting gravel and stone? The investigation had taken an unexpected turn. What had begun as an exploration of Jacob's Well's natural beauty had become an investigation into the tragic fate of two men who had dared to explore its depths. The well's history of death and mystery had resurfaced in the most chilling way, and the search for answers had only just begun. The drone's footage had opened the door to a deeper understanding of the well's past, and the team knew that what they had uncovered was just the tip of the iceberg. Jacob's Well had not given up all of its secrets yet, and there were still more to be discovered in the darkness beneath its surface. The discovery of Kent Mopin's body in Jacob's Well was a breakthrough, but it only deepened the mystery surrounding the well's lethal grasp. Kent's body had been wedged between two smooth rock walls in the fourth chamber, which was known as the Cathedral of No Return. This was the final stretch of the well, and it was a place that few divers ever dared to reach. The chamber was treacherous, with tight walls, pitch-black visibility, and gravel that shifted so quickly that divers could become trapped in an instant. It was here that the well had claimed its most notable victims, and the drone footage showing Kent's body reinforced the eerie reputation the well had earned over the years. The fourth chamber, where Kent's body was discovered, was a place of legend. It was the final frontier of the well, the last stretch of tunnel, where the boundaries of human exploration were tested to their limits. No one could get through it without facing the dangers that lurked in the dark. The narrow passageways, shifting gravel, and sudden drops made it an unforgiving environment, one that only the most experienced divers had attempted to conquer. But even the most seasoned divers had struggled in the Cathedral of No Return. It was a place where the well seemed to fight back against any attempt to unravel its secrets. The more they uncovered about the well's history, the more the story of Kent and Mark's disappearance began to take shape. In 1979, the two men had been part of a diving expedition that had gone beyond the well's third chamber, a place where few had dared to go before. They had been experienced divers, well-trained and confident in their abilities, but they had also been driven by a desire to push the limits of human exploration. Kent, in particular, had been obsessed with mapping the well's full extent, determined to reach the very depths that had remained unexplored for centuries. Mark, his diving partner, had been eager to prove himself. He admired Kent's experience and wanted to keep up with him, even if it meant taking dangerous risks. Their dive into the fourth chamber would be their last. The two men had entered the narrow tunnel leading into the chamber with heavy steel tanks in tow, fully aware of the dangers that lay ahead. They had no safety ropes, no backup divers, and no extra lighting to guide their way. It was just the two of them, diving into with nothing but their skill and determination to carry them forward. They passed through the third chamber and into the fourth, but that was the last time anyone saw them alive. Something had gone wrong, something that no one could have predicted. Another diver, named Joe, had been with them on the expedition. He had stayed behind as Kent and Mark entered the fourth chamber, watching them drag their heavy tanks through the narrow tunnel. Joe had tried to get their attention, banging his knife against his tank, but neither Kent nor Mark had responded. They had continued to move forward, seemingly under some kind of spell. Joe kept his light aimed into the tunnel, hoping they would turn back, but they never did. Eventually, Joe had made the decision to turn back himself, knowing that he couldn't follow them any farther. He surfaced and immediately noticed that the water behind him was murky, stirred up by shifting gravel and dirt. The signs were clear. Kent and Mark weren't coming back. As night fell, the search for Kent and Mark began. The rescue team included experienced divers like Don Dibble and Paul Battaglia, both of whom had prepared for the worst. They were familiar with the well's dangers, but nothing could have prepared them for the challenges they would face. They dropped backup tanks at 25 and 75 feet to ensure they had enough air, and they secured safety lines in case anything went wrong. Despite their careful preparations, the well's unpredictable nature made the dive treacherous. Don and Calvin Turner, a game warden who had joined the rescue effort, descended into the dark tunnel where Kent and Mark had last been seen. As Don pushed his head and shoulders into the narrow passageway, the water rushed past, kicking small rocks into his face. The gravel shifted under his feet, and his air gauge began to dip lower and lower. He was pinned, unable to move as the shifting gravel trapped his body. He couldn't see, couldn't signal, and couldn't make his way out. His body was suffocating under the weight of the gravel, and the water turned to mud, making it even harder to breathe. Don realized that he was running out of air. The pressure on his chest grew unbearable, and he began to panic. He started to think about death, about how it might feel, and whether it would be better to just drink the water and end it quickly. In a desperate attempt to speed up the inevitable, Don swallowed gulps of the muddy water, hoping to end his life sooner. But as he did, something unexpected happened. His body convulsed just enough to loosen the gravel, and a flicker of light returned to his vision. Through the fog of his surroundings, a figure appeared. It was Calvin, the game warden who had come to his rescue. Calvin had returned with a spare regulator and shoved it into Don's mouth, allowing him to breathe once again. Don was alive, but the ordeal was far from over. As he began to rise to the surface, another complication arose. The air he had swallowed expanded inside his body, causing his stomach to bloat to an alarming size. By the time he surfaced, he looked as though he were 9 months pregnant, and the pain was unbearable. Don was rushed to the hospital, where doctors performed X-rays and discovered that his stomach wall had ruptured. The infection that followed nearly killed him, but he survived, barely. His recovery was long and painful, but Don's experience highlighted just how dangerous Jacob's well truly was. It wasn't just the risk of being trapped in the shifting gravel, or the darkness of the chambers. It was the very air you breathed that could betray you. Meanwhile, the search for Kent and Mark continued. The well had claimed their lives, and now it was a race against time to recover their bodies and bring them back. Despite the hardships and dangers, the rescue team wasn't ready to give up. Among those still searching was Don Broad, a diver who was determined to face the well head-on. He had grown up near El Campo, and had always been drawn to the challenge of Jacob's well. Where others saw danger and death, Don saw an opportunity to face the well on his terms. When Don Broad arrived at the site, he didn't hesitate. He geared up and dropped straight into the water, heading toward the tunnel that led to the 4th chamber. Once there, he noticed something strange, a light still glowing, abandoned by one of the missing divers. Just beyond that, he saw the gravel-packed corridor that had trapped Kent and Mark. Don believed they were buried there, deep under the stone, and he was determined to bring them back. But the well fought back. Every time the divers made progress and cleared some gravel, more would shift into place, erasing hours of work in seconds. It was a battle against the well itself, and it seemed like the well was winning. Despite the setbacks, Don Broad and his team pressed on, determined to recover the bodies. But soon, the money for the recovery effort ran out, and the equipment required to continue the operation became too expensive. The search, which had started with hope and determination, turned into an exhausting struggle. The well had won. Kent and Mark's bodies were left behind, and the recovery mission was called off. What had started as a rescue operation became a process of acceptance. The well had claimed its victims, and it was clear that it wasn't giving them up. But the story didn't end there. Years later, the drone footage would bring the well's dark history to light once more. Kent Mopen's body, discovered all those years ago, became a symbol of the well's deadly grip, and the mystery of Jacob's well was far from over. The well had not finished with its stories. Even as the drone's camera revealed more of its secrets, questions remained. How much more did the well hide? What other dangers lay beneath the surface? These were the questions that would continue to haunt the investigation as more of Jacob's well's deadly history was revealed.